So Summertime Rendering released a little bit later than normal these past few weeks, but as I always say, it's better late than never because it is such a good series and it is well worth the wait. And you know what really warms my heart? What makes me so freaking happy, like legitimately happy? It's the fact that so many of you guys out there, after I made that video last week talking about Summertime Rendering and how it's pretty much ReZero under a different name, you guys jumped on board the series, and so many people have been telling me on the comments of different videos on social media of how they really are blown away by Summertime Rendering, and they're thankful for the video I made. And just all of you out there that posted in the comment section or been telling me this, I'm very happy to hear it. It makes me so happy to be able to just share the love that is Summertime Rendering because it's fantastic. I meant every word I said. It is ReZero under a different name with a mix of Higurashi, and what more could you really ask for? It is such a good story, well animated, voice acting, everything. Even Shinpei's overall reactions are very reminiscent of Subaru from ReZero, so just everything about this series is great, and I'm so happy to see so many people, jumping on board the series, watching the series, talking about the series. It's clearly boosted a lot in popularity, and like I said, that just makes me incredibly happy to see. I love seeing a hidden gem of a series boosting up. But okay, let's talk about the latest episode. So, before I go really deep into, let's say, the nitty-gritty of the details of what this episode was, with Hizuru and all that, Shinpei, and, the shadow reveals, etc., I want to talk about the translation. So, obviously, we all know at this point in time, if you have watched, Summertime Rendering, that there is no official way to technically watch the series. Sadly, if I could spend money, if I could throw $30 to $60, whatever, how much money I would need to pay to actually legitimately watch this show, even Disney, I'd throw money at them, etc., I would. But obviously Disney has this series locked up in Disney Jail, and there is no official way for anyone in the West to be able to watch this series. So because of that, you have individuals that take the time out of their day to translate said series. They're not actually using any, official subtitles or anything like ripping it and putting it into the video. They're legitimately having to translate the entirety of the episode from scratch. They're not going off of anything else. Maybe they could use the manga, but overall, the point is they still have to translate it and add it in typesetting, etc. It's a very difficult process. It pretty much reminds me of the old age of anime back in like 2008, 2009. If you were watching anime around that time, then you definitely know how crazy it was to, actually watch a series, because sometimes an anime that would come out on Wednesday, it would come out maybe on Friday the next week, because, there was no a real means to watch anime in the past. There was no Crunchyroll, there was really no Funimation, there was really no streaming service at the time, so because of that, it was very difficult to get a hold of certain anime. And so, when I look at Summertime Rendering, it kind of returns to that original era of just how you have to wait on certain translators to translate it. And so, when it comes to the episode, at least a version of Summertime Rendering that I watched, the translations weren't the best. But I still will give credit where credit is due, that someone took the time out of their day to translate it. It is no machine translation. So, shout outs to them at the very least for translating. But the reason why I'm mentioning that is because obviously, because of that, sometimes the subtitles or quality of a series' translations could differ between episodes. So if you somehow watch a different version of Summertime Rendering maybe in the next day or a few hours from now and it seems different from mine, please forgive me if I make any inaccuracies because of the translation. But with that out of the way, let's talk about the episode. Hizuru is the main focus of this latest episode of Summertime Rendering, which I think is a very nice, refreshing change of pace. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Shinpei. I love his journey. I love seeing his reaction in the latest episodes, finding out more about the shadows, the Demon King literally reaching their hands through the screen, trying to, turn off the power, different things like that. That's really cool, and I love that. But obviously, the perspective shift to Hizuru in this episode was very much needed, because it fills in a lot of the blanks that many of us have been wondering, like, what's really going on with Hizuru, what is she doing when she's not on screen, when Shinpei is wandering around, and on top of that, we get some information that can no longer technically be fixed, to kind of explain that situation. As we know, with Shinpei's resetting his new loops, etc., he slowly progresses forward in time, and so eventually things are going to be set in stone to where he's not going to be able to correct those. And so there's some segments of this episode that shows Hizuru having certain things already set in stone. She's like, you didn't know me at the beginning this morning, but obviously right now you do. So what happened? What changed? You're obviously time looping. You're a time traveler. And she just straight up comes out with it. And I love that element. I love that they're already aware that Shinpei is a time traveler, because it's not leading to convoluted things or the character just skirting around the main elephant in the room. Like, how do you know all this when, the only way you can explain this is if you're a time traveler? So I do appreciate all the different things that this episode did with Hizuru, and how it gave us so much clarity to who potentially is a shadow, who is not a shadow, and how maybe some of our characters were prevented from becoming a shadow thanks to Hizuru's overall intervention. So let's talk about that. So this episode, we get to see the funeral service for Ushio a lot earlier than Shinpei's, situation. When he pops up into the scene and he sees Ushio's funeral, Hizuru's situation is a lot earlier, maybe like 30 minutes prior or whatever. She gets to actually see Ushio, and at first the casket is not open, and at first I didn't understand this. I didn't realize this at the start, but when you go to Shinpei's perspective, obviously when he sees Ushio, it's an open casket funeral, but you see that it's technically a closed casket, and you have, Hizuru rip open the casket to, look at the body, and it's very distinct, very different. That's a huge difference to show just why the casket was open, but it also explains the situation why some are spreading rumors that maybe the doctor operated on Ushio's body and hid the markings on her neck, etc. Everything kind of comes full circle, and you're able to understand all these questions that many of us have been wondering about since maybe episode 1. So I like how a lot of that was clarified. But on top of that, we get a little bit more about the little girl's family, and if she's just the only shadow, or if the entire family is a shadow, and what technically happened to them. And that leads to the main conflicts, or one of the main conflicts of the episode. You get to see Hizuru confront a shadow, and she discovers their shadows really quickly by stepping on their shadow, because, their shadow avoids being stepped on. This was revealed in the latest episode, or the last episode, technically. And I like how that entire situation goes, how the shadow tries to cry, act, etc., and Hizuru has to bottle up her anger, or her inner turmoil, to deal with the situation. And it's a very interesting scene, having to put on this presentation and also act like everything's okay, or you're emotional or whatever, when in reality you know that these people that you used to know and love are actually fakes, and they're just shadows, moving their bodies around. It's kind of messed up. And so I do like the segment to where, as it continues to go, it makes you wonder, when are they going to intervene or do something? But obviously we get a little bit more clarity now, maybe what happened to the family, the little girl Shadow's family. They probably got dealt with by Hizuru later that night, because we know they mysteriously disappear. We've seen this happen a few times in the episodes, so it's very likely that Hizuru deals with them to some degree, and that's why we never really see them again throughout the upcoming episodes. So yeah, that's something I do want to point out. But anyways, another thing too to talk about is Alan, which is, Shinpei's foster father. Something I've been wondering about for a while, actually, is if Shinpei's foster father was a fake, if he was a shadow. This was something that crept into my mind a few times while watching this show. But we get to see Hizuru protect Alan in the bathroom and actually deal with Alan's fake shadow. And this is a really nice scene, because it gives us a lot of clarity that the people around Shinpei since the very beginning hasn't technically been a shadow. They've been legitimate people, like Mio and Alan. They've been real people, not shadows. So that's nice. I like that segment. But it's a very brutal segment, by the way. Just seeing Hizuru kind of bash the man's head in, I was just like, oh my goodness, that's freaking violent. But obviously we have the final segment with Shinpei and how he is actually, getting in contact with Hizuru and the guy that was like a mountain climber or whatever, and how it is revealed that he is actually in, or very relevant to the plot, how he's interacting with Hizuru, how he's her partner. It's something that was kind of obvious from the very beginning. I talked about this in my episode First Impressions, 5 weeks ago. If you go back to it, you'll see me talking about, Summertime Rendering, and how the guy that kind of talks about the shadows to Mio and Shinpei for the first time, what he was carrying, it looked like something, or some form of gun case. That's what it looked like, and it's clear as day that's exactly what it was when you see him testing Shinpei to see if he's a shadow or not. And yeah, we get that confirmation. But yeah, overall, the episode is very good, very thought-provoking, a lot of mystery, and I can't get enough of the series. I absolutely adore this series, and I'm just so happy to see, summertime rendering boosting in popularity, to get back to the earlier topic I had. Just can't wait. I can't wait to see the community discussion in the comments and what you guys have to say. What do you think's going to happen, honestly? Do you think that Shinpei's going to be forced to loop again? I'm going to take an educated guess and assume he's going to have to. But, yeah, I'm curious. I wonder what's going to force him to loop. What mistake is he going to make, etc. But I guess I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you so much for watching this video. Once again, I'm testing out the green screen behind me, so do let me know if everything is good with the green screen or not. I really would like to know. If it's not okay, once again, give me feedback. I'm always looking for feedback. But with that, guys, be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.